Are you sowing the seeds of the kingdom? Are you sowing the seeds of the kingdom, brother, in the morning, bright and fair? Are you sowing the seed of the kingdom, brother, in the heat of the noonday's glare? For the harvest time is coming on, and the reaper's work will soon be done. Will your sheaves be many? Will you garner any for the gathering at the harvest home? Are you sowing the seed of the kingdom, brother, in the still and solemn night? Are you sowing the seed of the kingdom, brother, for a harvest of pure and white? For the harvest time is coming on, and the reaper's work will soon be done. Will your sheaves be? Will you garner any for the gathering at the harvest home? Are you sowing the seed of the kingdom, brother, all along the fertile way? Are you sowing the seed of the kingdom, brother? You must reap at the last great day. For the harvest time is coming on, and the reaper's work will soon be done. Will your sheaves be many? Garner any for the gathering at the harvest home. Amen. Well, good evening. Once again, brethren, those songs have me out of breath, but those are some good ones. So we come to our final class in our evangelism study, and it's really been a wonderful class for me. I've so enjoyed preparing for it and just being with you all and interacting with you all and just hearing from you in these classes. That to me, one of the things that really makes evangelism successful is when we can learn from one another, when we can hear from one another, when we can hear what's worked with someone, because when we talk with someone about evangelism, that gives us confidence that yes, this can really be done. We can be successful when we work together and when we hear about our successes and we're working as one church, as one body to accomplish God's will. So this evening, we have a brother here at Keller, Brother James Owens, who has said that he would like to say some things about evangelism as well. And I think in that spirit of sharing and hearing from one another, I think it'd be a wonderful thing. So Brother James, please, won't you come and why don't you share your thoughts with us? Thank you.
Okay, this is not the arena that I normally work out of, so just be patient with me. I'm setting my timer here. I've got several stories I would like to share and 3 commercials. So we'll see if we can get all that squeezed in and then leave Mark plenty of time to wrap up the lesson as well. Okay, and certainly thanks to Mark, evangelism is certainly something I think needs to be very close to all of us. It's very near and dear to my heart. I have a passion for it, especially in the later years. So anyway, I'll press on. So what? So what? S-O-W, so what? What might happen? This statement came to my mind several days ago as I was thinking about sharing some stories in this class. So what might happen? What might happen? I'm kind of hoping everyone will leave tonight with a different thought in mind of sowing the seed of the kingdom. Thank you for leading the song. With the catchphrase, "So what?" It's like, well, that sounds a little apathetic, but try to stay with me here and we'll see where it goes. So I'm just going to start going through some stories. First one is walk the dog. Anybody ever walk their dog or just walk the neighborhood, that kind of thing? As I walk my neighborhood and encounter neighbors, I try to briefly introduce myself to them. Hi, I'm James. I live around the corner on Eden Road. This followed by a bit of just small talk, just, tell me about your dog, talk about their yard, talk about their car, etc. At this point, they are not put off by me just talking to them. I'm not put off by them. It's just idle chit-chat. So now for the first regular part of so what? Routine. I ask, and this is a very routine thing for me. It's like, do you and your family have a regular place where you worship? They say yes. We go to the so-and-so Bible church, Baptist church, etc. And I say, great, glad to hear it. Or they may say no, they don't worship anywhere, they don't have a routine of worship. Either way, me asking them, do you have a place where your family normally worships, has never seemed to annoy or put anyone ill at ease. They may or may not say, and where do you attend? Either way, I'm going to throw in my Keller Church of Christ elevator speech. Elevator speech, anyone know what an elevator speech is? Yes. A few people have looked actively for jobs and have had some guidance in that arena. An elevator speech, for someone that's seeking a job, an elevator speech is a quick summary of your job skills, what you're looking for in a job, in a brief amount of time that would take you to ride an elevator up a couple of floors with someone. You just snap it out there and they go, oh, this guy's he's a management professional who's looking for work in the industry of this or that. So in like manner, I have what I call my Church of Christ elevator speech. And it goes something like this. And again, I've already introduced myself, kind of shot the breeze with someone a little bit. And then I just kind of go into this, do you have a place to worship? Yes or no? And then I say, well, I worship at the Keller Church of Christ. We try to just follow the Bible and do what it says, just to be a part of the one church that Christ said he would establish that was recorded in the Bible in Acts 2 on the day of Pentecost. We don't have creeds, boards of directors, councils. We just strive to follow the Bible. Okay, that takes somewhere in the neighborhood of 20, 24 seconds. And again, I have never met anyone who, making this statement, put them in a defensive or set them off at all, other than this is what I typically get, a sense of shock and comments of, wow, that sounds really cool, or different, or simple, or refreshing, or whatever. It catches many people by surprise that such a thing might even exist. I will say that this statement alone can often lead to a fairly lengthy standing on the curb discussing and exploring Bible matters. So just that in itself. By this time, I have probably pulled out of my wallet one of the little business cards that we have here on the different areas in the church. It's got Keller's address, got our worship times, and I have written my name and phone number on it. And I just hand them that. I simply offer to them and say, should you ever decide to come and visit with us, feel free. Just give me a call. It's on the card before you show up. I said, I plan to be at every service and would be glad for you to call me so I can meet you at the door and show you around, etc. Or certainly if you would ever like to just study the Bible, give me a call. We'll get together. So, what? What might happen? Well, all kinds of things might happen. We are told to sow. We or someone else may get the chance to water, and it's between that person and God regarding the harvest or the increase. At work, a lot of us work sometimes. What happens most every Friday or Monday at work? This is pretty much without fail. Someone will say or ask, so what are you planning to do this weekend? Or it's Monday morning, they say, so what did you do this weekend? I would always respond, a bit of the usual stuff, cut the yard, clean out the garage, etc. And of course, on Sunday, I tended to worship Sunday morning and Sunday night. Just a matter of, what'd you do? Oh, that's what I did. So this plants the seed in coworkers' minds that you're a spiritually minded person, and often will prompt the discussion, oh, where do you go to church? Or here's where I go to church. And again, this is an opportunity that I won't pass up, and I offer my Keller Church elevator speech. Well, I go to Keller, and this is what we do, blah, 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 20 seconds later. So this line of discussion and shining God's light will often bring people to asking if you can pray for them, etc., when they are in crisis. This is a great door opener. Always affirm that you're going to pray for them, and then follow up with them, assuring them of your prayers and concern. Continue to check back with them. This is invaluable. So what? What might happen? Well, we'll continue on. So this I call Sister Frances. One of my employees where I last worked was a young lady where the ice had already been broken with a spiritually minded person in the discussions of the weekend plans, attending worship, etc. During a break one day, she came to me and she said, regarding working at her part-time job at IHOP as a waitress, she said, these two ladies that I was waiting on asked me if I'd been saved. She said, she was telling me, she seemed unsure of what to tell them, etc. So they offered to say a prayer with her to make sure she got saved. She told me she wasn't real sure about all that, and I simply agreed and said, the Bible explains things quite differently than that. Then I just simply asked her at that moment, would you be interested in studying the Bible and learning a little bit more about that sort of thing? And you know what she said? Yeah. She said yes. Side note, little parenthetical step away here. While the expressions people may use like, I'm just trying to live a good sermon in front of people, that seems catchy. But if we do not open our mouths and talk to people and offer them the gospel, offer to study the Bible, I submit that we will save few, if any, souls. So that doesn't really work. So Frances said yes to Bible study. Janine and I got on her schedule to meet with her for Bible study. We covered many basic topics, as she had very little Bible knowledge other than a few facts about Christ, his death on the cross, Easter, Christmas, and a few things she'd heard on the radio or TV. So commercial break number one is a little book called Reasons to Believe. This is a book that, I'm finding more and more as I was talking to people don't have a clue about the Bible anymore. There's a lot of people, that just don't know anything. They don't have a clue about reasons to believe. They don't know reasons to believe the Bible is from God, reasons to believe in Jesus, reasons to do more than believe in Jesus. Those are the 4 topics in this book. It's only a few bucks from Apologetics Press. It's written by Eric Lyons and Kyle Butt. Super book. I keep some of these on hand. Like I said, they're just a few bucks. If someone is just completely not plugged in at all, they don't know about the Bible, if it's real or not or anything, great resource. Okay, commercial one. All right. We did not use that book with Frances, but like I said, I keep copies around. We scheduled another Bible study with her a few weeks later. We went into much more of the gospel message at this second visit. She said she was very concerned that she had heard a message on TV where the preacher quoted regarding the Lord possibly saying, "Depart from me, I never knew you." This set horror into her mind. She's like, can this really happen? Oh my goodness. So as we continued to share the truth of the gospel, she was overwhelmed with the simplicity and how it all fit together through the whole scheme of the Bible, God's ultimate plan to save sinners. She was just like, this is cool, this is great. With her housing location, like I said, this is me with a work person way over in Arlington. With that in mind, I had already sought out the Airport Freeway Church of Christ and had spoken to their preacher, Brother Larry, about the church there and the situation with my friend who lived in their area. So we began to, as we were staying with Francis, we began to draw some concluding thoughts regarding the 6 steps of salvation, certainly including that there are trials that will continue to, even as a Christian, the necessity of being a faithful throughout our entire life, kind of give all that, seriousness to the discussion. At this point, we simply asked her, would you be interested in taking care of this and putting on Christ now? Like I said, we had studied with her a couple times, we'd covered all the bases, and she was amazed and excited that this could even happen. She said definitely moving forward to get her salvation was something she wanted to do right now if we could. So I called Brother Larry. Larry met us at the church. We baptized Francis into Christ that day. So what? What might happen? We might have a new sister in Christ. Another side note here, please pray for Francis. She struggles as a new babe in Christ, so she could use all the help we could give her. All right, on to Ms. Joe. Ms. Joe, she's a neighbor just to the south of our house right now. When we first moved in, I made the normal neighborly greetings and waves at her and her husband. As time went on, she began sharing that her husband was quite ill and undergoing extensive treatments for his illness. I knew she was not a member of the Lord's church, but didn't know much else about her at that time. I asked her if she enjoyed reading much, and she said yes. She said she's spending a lot of time trying to find something to read as she waits on her husband's medical treatments, etc. I offered her a book, Muscle and a Shovel. I briefly explained it's a true story of 2 co-workers, one who was looking at all the different religious choices and one who was trying to help him lead him to what the Bible said on this. Is anybody familiar with this book? This book is killer. This is a great book. If you've not read Muscle and Shovel, I highly recommend it. I think we have a copy in the library and possibly some extra copies in the office we used to keep, I don't know. It is a true story of someone, it's a true story, and if someone would read this book in its entirety with the many scriptures and sharing of the gospel message, it's very logical, it's very biblical. This book can actually lead someone to be to put on Christ and become part of the Lord's church. So a great resource to keep on hand and pass out. So Ms. Joe took the book. She and I began discussing things over the next few weeks about the book, her husband's health, etc. I invited her to come to worship with us at Keller. She did come. She continued to worship with us at Keller, very much appreciating Corey's preaching at the time as she was beginning to learn new things about the true church. This was followed up just a little while later with a Bible study at her home with Corey and myself, and within a couple of weeks after that, she put on Christ in baptism. So what? What might happen? Ms. Joe now shows up every Sunday as much as her health allows, and she sits down on that pew back there right beside me and Janine every Sunday morning. So that's what might happen. So. Uh-oh, I'm running out of time. Okay, all right. On from there. My 91-year-old mother, okay? My 91-year-old mom still lives by herself. No one gets the chance to come to her home for a service call, deliver something, mow her grass, etc., that she does not give them her version of the little card, inviting them to church at Birdville with worship times, address, etc. And on the back of their card, it actually has a listing of some of the locally broadcast Bible messages that are sponsored by the church. Search the Lord's way, give me the Bible, those kinds of things. Nobody gets to leave my mom's house without one of those if they come for any reason. She's still very active in sowing the seed of the kingdom as much as she can. Some of my childhood memories, going way back, are of showing the Jewel Miller film strips against the wall in the living room to many of our neighbors. So, what? What might happen? Several obeyed the gospel those many years ago. Okay, last commercial break. Jewel Miller series. It still exists. All 5 lessons are still available on a thumb drive. It runs about $100. If you'd like to pick it up, I'll tell you where you can get it. I have it. If you ever want to borrow it, come see me. I'll loan it to you. Okay, last story that I've written down. I have several other little anecdotes and stories that, there's just not time. This one I call estate sale. So literally a few weeks ago, I was lined up to go into a big estate sale over in South Lake. I love to go to estate sales. A man and his wife lined up right behind me. We chatted about stuff we were looking for when we got inside and this kind of thing. They hadn't opened the door yet. So I asked them, I said, what part of town y'all live in? They said Grapevine. So we just moved here from Atlanta to spend more time with our grandkids. Oh, okay, that's cool. And about this time the house opened up. We all rushed in to shop and find some treasures. I kept my eyes open to catch them before they left. Spotting the wife as she waited for her husband to finish, I simply said, so with y'all being new here, if you find yourselves looking for a good place to worship, I worship at the Keller Church of Christ, and we would love to have you. I recited the Keller Church of Christ elevator speech with the card and invited them to come, and anytime they wanted to come, please come, call me. And if they ever wanted to just meet and have Bible study, give me a holler. She seemed genuinely excited with the invitation. These are not things that are putting people off. These are things that are easy to say. Everybody's very receptive. And again, so what? What might happen? Good things might happen. So I want to encourage all of us to start seeing everyone we come in contact with, everywhere, as someone to sow. Sow the gospel seed everywhere we can. What might happen? Only God knows. That's all I got. Thank you. It's all yours.
Thank you so much. That was excellent. That was really, really good. And again, we can do this. We have the ability. We meet people every day. We come into contact with people every day, right? We can do this. This is what we're called to do. This is what we're told to do in the scriptures. We definitely can do this. So, for the rest of our time, I'd like to talk about our topic of living a lifestyle of evangelism. Really, as James was saying, every single day, every person that we come into contact with is someone that we should be thinking about their soul, that we should be trying to, with the ultimate goal of trying to get them to obey the gospel if they have not done that yet. Really quickly, I do want to talk a little bit about what we didn't get to last time, that we were talking about follow-up last time. And I just want to make sure that we have some things and some ideas in place that we can ensure success with our visitors when they walk through our doors, when they walk through our back doors, when they walk through our side doors, whatever it is. When we have visitors come, we want to be successful. Just as an example story, not to make anybody feel bad or anything like that, but just as an example, as a case study. When my family came and we visited Keller for the first time, I'll admit we were a few minutes late, and we came and we sat down in the back of the auditorium. We went through the entirety of worship. We really enjoyed the worship. Everything was great. And Corey's sermon was actually very appropriate, that Corey's sermon was on greeting and making sure that we talk to our visitors, making sure that we greet our visitors when they come. And so it was great. And so the entire time we're thinking, yeah, this is going to be good. We're going to get to meet a lot of people today. The amen was said, and no one introduced themselves to us. No one. So, as I said, not to make anyone feel bad, but it's just that we have some work to do, right? We have some areas to grow in. We want to make sure that we have success with our visitors. So, when we have visitors, we want to make sure that the first contact that they have is very clear and warm. One of the things that we've done since then is we have greeters at all of our doors now, right? We've got the greeters at the back doors, side doors, we got greeters everywhere. We want our greeters to be friendly and cheerful, right? Not just handing out bulletins like, here you go, next, right? But we want to be courteous, we want to be happy, we want to be genuinely engaging with people that are visitors. First contact is very important, all right? Next thing I think is also important is we want to make sure that we have clear signage in the areas of the church building. Clear signage pointing the direction to where the classrooms are, where the nursery is, where the bathrooms are. Clear signage showing people, hey, this is the way that you go. There are many times when even members approach me and say, hey, do you know where the classroom for this is, right? And so having these sorts of signage would be really helpful, not only for our visitors, but also for our members as well, right? When someone has kids who change classrooms and things, signs would go a long way for this sort of thing. Next thing is when we do have a visitor, we don't just want to say, thank you, be on your way, right? We want to walk them to wherever it is that they're going. If they're here for class, we want someone to be a walker, or I guess you can call it an escort, whatever you want to call it. Walk them to the classroom. Say, yes, this is the class that you're going to be attending. It's really great. If you know the teacher and what they're studying, even better, right? But you can walk them to the classroom. If they're here for worship, walk them to a seat inside the auditorium and, continue to thank them for coming. Even better is if you walk them to a seat, sit them next to somebody so that they're not by themselves, right? We don't want to have a designated visitor section, right? We want to have them seated next to someone that will make them feel welcome, right? It's kind of the story of if a man shall come in nice clothes and someone shall come in poor clothes, right? We want to make sure that they're walked to someone, a member, that can continue to make them feel welcome and encouraged. If they have children, we want to make sure that we walk their children to where they need to go, walk their children to the classroom, and we can go with the parents, and we can give the parents comfort and encouragement that their children are perfectly fine, they're safe where they are, right? Those sorts of things. Physical guidance communicates care. When we're physically going and we're walking with somebody and showing them where we're going, we're demonstrating we care about them, all right? Next thing, sit with them, as I mentioned. If you're walking someone to their seat, walk them to someone that's already seated that they can sit with, or sit down with them, right? If you're walking with them, hey, I'd be happy to sit with you, and just sit down with them, right? Don't let them sit alone. We don't want visitors to sit alone, because that's isolation. They feel like they're unwanted, right? They feel like they don't really fit in. So we want to make sure that they're not alone, that they're not sitting alone. We want to make sure a member or a family, right, is intentional about it. And we can also even help them find scriptures, that if we see them flipping through the Bible, or maybe in the case that they're using the songbook, help them to find the songs and things. Help them along, help them in worship if they would like that. Next thing, I think this is really neat. I think this is a really neat thing that we could implement. It's called the 5-minute rule. And what this is 5 minutes immediately after service, we don't talk to our clans, right? We don't go and we talk to the people that we talk to every single Sunday. This calls it, what did it call it? I can't find it. Holy huddles, yes, thank you. Yeah, this prevents the holy huddle, right? And so for the first 5 minutes, we want to seek out visitors. We want to seek out the new people, introduce ourselves to them, say, welcome them, right? So that our visitors are just overwhelmed with people who want to get to know them, right? The 5-minute rule. After that 5 minutes is done, feel free to go and to talk to whoever you want to talk to, right? As we usually do, enjoy the fellowship that we usually do. But for the first 5 minutes, we're going to focus on the visitors and those that are new meeting with us. Introduce them to others, right? Instead of just talking about them to yourself, and saying, okay, see you later, actively introduce them to you. Oh, here's here's Miss Carolyn. Oh, here's Mr. Myron. Here are our elders, right? We want to actively introduce them to someone and not just say, bye, see you later. We want to walk them so that they can feel like they're already part of the community, that they're already part of the family, to make them feel welcome where they are. And the follow-up, we talked about follow-up significantly last time. Things that are great are handwritten cards. We talked about handwritten cards from members, handwritten cards from small groups. These go a long way in follow-ups. Texts or calls from a small group leader or elders or others that may be part of a follow-up team. And of course, always inviting somebody to lunch or coffee, right? That's always great too. After worship, you can say, hey, we're going to get lunch at this place. We would love to have you. Just really great to show someone that you care. You want to get to know them more. You're showing interest in them as a person, right? These are good things for follow-up. One thing that I think is a challenge is actually noticing when someone is a visitor, right? I think that was probably part of the reason for our family, is like people probably just didn't see us. A lot of the times we don't notice visitors. And so how can we actively notice and do our best to notice that we actually have visitors, right? I think part of it could be maybe what we have is the hospitality team. Maybe it could also be like the greeter team, right? That those that are greeters are responsible for kind of communicating to maybe another team, or maybe there's a text message chain or something that, hey, we have visitors today. It's a family, or it's an older man or a younger woman, whatever it may be, just to be on the lookout to whoever it is, that this hospitality team can be made aware and actively looking for these people, and then they can go and again introduce them to others, try to get them involved with those. Coordinate who greets them. Maybe we got the technology, we could use AI face recognition, right? Where AI is looking for new faces in the audience. We could be creative with the strategies that we have. But I think just trying to figure out how we can make sure that our visitors don't go unnoticed. Because I think that's part of the problem, especially when we have a lot of people in the auditorium. That's really something that we need to try to focus on. The other thing is what I call the pass the potato method, right? We talked about this before. When you have a new visitor, you don't just say bye. You actually walk them and pass the potato, not to call our visitors potatoes, but you pass the potato to someone else so that they can continue the conversation with them, so that they can continue to be greeted. And you just pass the person on from person to person to person. So by the time they leave, they've met over a dozen people, hopefully, would be the goal. Another thing that I think could potentially be helpful is we have our paper visitors cards, right, in the front. But by the time they fill those out, it's usually too late to know if a visitor has come, right? And so what would be interesting is if we have electronic visitors cards, and our greeters could ask them to fill it out basically as soon as they walk in the door. I did this for a trial. If you guys are interested, you can scan this right now. It'll take you to this form real quick that you can, and it's literally 2 clicks. You scan it, it will automatically fill your name, email address, and phone number automatically if you've already saved it in your phone. Click again, and boom. And now we have a list of visitors that day who we can be looking for as a congregation. We can give access whoever you want it to. So again, just another idea that we could potentially use to try to make sure that we have visitors that don't go unnoticed. All right, I'll let people scan, whoever else would like to scan, and then we'll continue on. Okay? All right, another thing that I just noticed, we actually have visitor tracking in Lightpost, which is pretty cool. Now, I don't know if we've hooked it up yet. I don't know those details, but we do actually have visitor tracking in the Lightpost app. I don't know if it helps us with day of tracking, which I think is the part that I'd like to focus on, but I think it does track things like, oh, this person was last here, 2 Sundays ago, or maybe assigning tasks to different members of this task is assigned to follow up, to call, things like that, whatever it may be. And so I think it's something worth looking into on our Lightpost app now as well. All right. I tried to go through that really quickly. I hope everybody got that okay. But, just some other ideas that I had for ways that we can be successful once that we get people in the door. And so we've talked about evangelism for all these weeks now. And I think we've talked about it. Evangelism is of the utmost importance. And we have people all over the world who need to hear the gospel. And I think it's interesting that there's one thing that the body needs to survive. A lot of time in the Bible, we know that the body is a metaphor for what? For the church, right? There's one thing that the body needs to survive. Do you know what that is? Water. Every single part, every single cell in your body needs water to survive. Isn't that interesting? There's also something that we all need spiritually to survive as well, right? We need, of course, the grace of God. We need the blood of Jesus Christ. And we need to be able to be buried in the waters of baptism in order to partake of that great gift that God has given us. Basically, yeah, we don't have time. This is the homeostasis is what the process of the water going into the cells and things like that. And so basically it's just talking about that we really need to set ourselves up for a lifestyle, for living a lifestyle of evangelism. To me, evangelism, it's not just a one-time thing. We don't just teach our children, and when our children obey the gospel, we say, well, my role in evangelism is done, right? Evangelism is not a program. It's not some program that you install and all of a sudden, you're going to focus on evangelism for a year. Evangelism is a lifestyle, and it's something that should be embedded in every single one of us as a Christian, as a follower of Christ. And so I want to go over a few things to make sure that we set ourselves up for success with evangelism. So I came up with the 3 Ps. I thought I'd be maybe a preacher today and come up with, the word message of so many things that start with a certain letter. That seems to be a preacher style. So these are the 3 Ps that I came up with to ensure success with evangelism. One is to ponder someone's soul at every interaction. We've talked about this before. Every single person who you come into contact with, you want to be thinking about their soul. You want to be trying to lead this person to Christ. Everything that you do and say should be with this in mind. And so sometimes we may be come into contact with someone, and usually people know what Christians should and shouldn't do. But if they see us engaging in things that they know Christians should not do, that makes us a hypocrite. Right? Let's turn to Romans 2, 21 through 24 quickly. You therefore who teach another, do you not teach yourself? You who preach that a man should not steal, do you steal? You who say, do not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who make your boast in the law, do you dishonor God through the breaking of the law? For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. If we're interacting with someone of the world, and if we're doing things that they know that Christians shouldn't do, they'll see our hypocrisy a mile away. And we'll lose credibility with them. And they'll think, well, why would I do that? You haven't changed. You're still the same person. And so we want to try to do our best to not be hypocrites, to live our lives as Christians should around the people of the world so that we can maintain our honor or our example of what a Christian should be. Another thing, Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 and 15, I think is another thing that we need to think about when we're interacting with others. Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. I think, unfortunately, we are in a society of complaining. We like to complain about our jobs a lot of the time. We like to complain maybe about our families. We like to find things to complain about, right? And sometimes we even complain about the church. Sometimes we even complain to others about, I went to church on Sunday, and that song leader guy, Mark, he just doesn't know what he's doing. He just leads all the songs that I don't know, and, or that Neil preacher guy, man, he's just not even speaking, like, I don't even know what he's talking about, right? We like to find things to complain about. And when we complain to others, especially outside of the church, they would think, well, why would I want to go there? If we invite them to come to worship with us, they just heard us complain for 5 minutes about that place. Why would I ever want to go there? And the same is true with our families. My grandmother is a sweetheart. I love her to death. She was such a strong Christian woman. As I mentioned, my grandfather was not a Christian, but he attended worship with her every Sunday, every Lord's Day. And there was one day where I guess my grandmother they were driving back home from worship, and my grandmother was complaining a little bit. She was saying, whatever, the singing was not very good, or, the preaching, whatever it was, whatever we find to complain about sometimes. And my grandfather made a statement that was very profound, that has left a really strong impact on me. He says, you know what, if you are always complaining about that church and always complaining about those people, then your kids aren't going to want to go to that church and be around those people. And it's true. And so let's be very careful about complaining. Complaining even to our families about maybe things that we're not so happy with at worship or something, because people are listening. Your kids may be listening. Maybe your grandkids are listening. And when we do that, especially around people who are not Christians, we lose our credibility with them. And it's a lot harder to convert them to this thing that we spent so much time trash talking. Preparation. That's the second P. We need to make sure that we're prepared biblically to be able to know what we're talking about. We need to take time out of our day to make sure that we are prepared to know and to have a conversation with somebody. And the third P is prayer. We need to make sure that we are praying about our evangelism efforts. We want to pray about people specifically by name that we come into contact with. Please help me to lead this person to Christ. Please give me opportunities to be able to speak about you to this person. Please be with their heart and help their heart to be touched by the gospel. We want to make sure that we're praying. Continue earnestly in prayer, being vigilant in it with thanksgiving. Meanwhile, praying also for us that God would open a door to us as a door for the word, to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in chains, and that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. Colossians 4, 2-4. We're very familiar with this passage, the whole armor of God, Ephesians 6, verses 14-20. We know what this is talking about. I think it's very interesting that in the whole armor of God, it talks about having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. And it also talks about prayer in that passage as well. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the feet are what's mentioned with having the preparation of the gospel of peace. Because what do we do with our feet? We go. We move. And we are supposed to take this preparation of this gospel to the world, to our loved ones, to every corner of the earth. Go and preach the gospel. That was the calling. To close, I'd like to tell a little story too. Once, a long time ago, there was a young girl and her family who visited a beach. And this was a beach that they'd been to many times before. And this little girl is kind of skipping along the shore. But then she comes up to a sight which she had never seen before. She saw, literally strewn about the beach, thousands of starfish. You see, there was a storm that had come in a number of days ago, and this storm had washed up all of these thousands of starfish onto the shore. And it just broke that little girl's heart to see that. And so this little girl, she looked on those starfish and she had compassion for them. And so she went and she started picking up the starfish one by one and throwing them back into the ocean. One by one, going along, picking it up and throwing it into the ocean. There was another man that saw what she was doing. He just couldn't believe it. In fact, he kind of mocked her and made fun of her. He said, "What difference could you possibly make going and picking up these thousands of starfish? There's no way. What could you do?" So the little girl got kind of discouraged, looked down on the ground, and realized the magnitude of what it was. But she went and picked up another starfish off the floor, off the sand, and cast it as far as she could into the ocean. She turned around and said to that man, "I might not be able to save all of them, but I could save that one." And that should be our mentality with sharing the gospel. We might not be able to save all of them, but we should do whatever we can to try to save that one. As the story goes, the man saw what she was doing. He also realized it. He and everyone else on the beach started picking up the starfish, and all of them started casting the starfish into the ocean. And after a little while, the entire beach was cleared of all of the starfish. We can do this together. We can work together, and we can fulfill the calling that Jesus has given to us of evangelism. Thank you all so much for your time. Let us all be better soul winners. Let us commit to being better soul winners as individuals, as congregations here at Keller. Thank you all so much for your time and your comments and for the opportunity. Thank you so much.